Y'all, we're making key lime pie. Come on. Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the almost weekly web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling a low carb version of one of my favorite desserts, key lime pie. Stay tuned. All right, guys, low carb key lime pie. Can it be done? Today we're going to find out by testing two very different versions of this super popular American dessert, key lime pie. Our first recipe is a no-bake version, and our second recipe is a full custard that we're going to bake in the oven. So our first recipe is keto low-carb key lime pie, and this is from the website StaySnatched.com. And our second recipe is keto key lime pie, and this is by My Keto Kitchen.com. So be sure to use the links down here on the screen. They'll also be in the video description below. But before we begin, I need to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Thrive Market. Thrive Market is an online marketplace on a mission to make healthy living easy and affordable for everybody. You can search for thousands of name brand products on their catalog by the values that matter most to you and your family. Now, for us and me, that's probably going to be low carb and keto products, but it could also be vegan, raw, non-GMO, BPA free, whatever it is that you're looking for, the values that really matter most to you, you can sort their catalog by those things. Now, like a lot of big box discount stores, there is a membership fee to join Thrive Market, but what's good is they have a happiness guarantee. If you don't actually save as much money as the membership cost over time, at the end of the year, they'll actually refund that difference. And if you try the year program, in the first 30 days, if you find out, hey, this isn't for me, they'll actually refund the membership fee. Now, there are a couple of different options. One is a monthly. I think it's around $9 or $10 a month to try it. Or you can do what I do and get the year plan, gets it down to around $5 a month. And I know I'm going to save at least that much. In fact, the average Thrive Market shopper saves around $32 per order. So I know I'm going to be saving at least $5 a month. Now, for a limited time, if you guys will use the link down here on the screen, it's thrivemarket.com/highfalutin low carb. They will actually give you guys 25% off your first order and a free gift. You guys have, I've said it a lot, that sponsorships aren't why I do this, they're how I do this, and it's sponsorships like Thrive Market that really help keep channels like mine on the air. So if you guys want to support me, go support them. Use the link down here on the screen. You'll get 25% off your first order and a free gift. All right, let's go make some pie. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on our first recipe. This is the no-bake key lime pie. This is keto low-carb key lime pie by the website StaySnatched.com. Again, all the links will be here on the screen. So let's get started on this. Now, I've already done a few things ahead of time to make this go a little quicker. One of those was to juice these limes. Let's talk about key limes. The lime that you're used to seeing in the grocery store is a Persian lime. This is what's, in your margaritas. This is what you're buying at the grocery store. A key lime is a tiny little guy. He is this thing. So as you can see, it is a very big difference. They're a little more tart, they're a little more floral, they have a distinct flavor. So this recipe really, if you're gonna make key lime pie or call it key lime pie, you gotta use key limes and they gotta be fresh. Don't go buy a bottle of juice. It ain't the same. I'm sorry, it's not. So you need the zest of these, and so it's easier, I'm gonna tell you now, it's easier to zest them before you juice them. So I needed a half a cup of juice for actually both of these recipes that call for a half a cup of juice. And it took a full pound of key limes to get almost exactly a half a cup of juice. So just be aware you're going to need a good amount of those. But it's the end of summer and it's still in the stores, and it's a last hurrah to a beautiful dish. So, all right, let's get started on the crust for this. So this is where I said I've already done a few things. This is almond flour, but it's important that this is toasted. So it's blanched almond flour that you've put in a skillet for 2 to 4 minutes with no oil, and you've just toasted them. This is imperative, she said, to get the flavor of graham crackers, because we're going for a graham cracker style crust. To this, we're going to add a little bit of cinnamon and salt. Again, that helps with the graham cracker flavor we're going for. And then also to this, we're going to add a little bit of sweetener. And this is a powdered erythritol-based sweetener is what she recommends. So that's what I'm using here, and I'm going to use the same sweetener in both recipes that we try today so that that's not interfering in the flavor profiles just the recipe. So this is, like I said, is a no-bake cheesecake. So if you didn't toast this, if you didn't toast the almonds, you really would just be eating raw almonds. You know what I mean? So, all right, we're gonna add to this a stick of melted butter. And I already sifted, y'all. I know you didn't get to see it, but I promise you, sift, y'all. I did sift my almond flour because it comes out of the freezer. Get out of the way. Add in this. We're going to mix this together, and we're just going to press this into the bottom of the pie pan. All right, so here's our pie shell. There's some fingerprint indentions in there, but nobody's gonna know anything about that shortly. So let me get the other ingredients ready and we'll start our filling. All right, so let's get started on our filling while our crust just rests over there. This is our lime juice. We had to have a half a cup of lime juice, and I've already strained this out. I'm gonna microwave this for about 30 to 40 seconds. We need to get it warm so that we can bloom our gelatin in it. So I'll be right back in just a few seconds. So our lemon juice is warm. You don't want it scalding hot or boiling. You just need to be able to bloom our gelatin. So this is unflavored gelatin. Get out of there. And now this you need to make sure this is completely dissolved before you leave this step. Okay, so here's the fun part, all the creamy goodness of the filling. So I'm gonna use a stand mixer, and in here I already have, let me punch it down a little bit. I've already got some softened cream cheese. Cream cheese has been out for a couple of hours now. So it's room temperature. So to this, we're gonna add some Greek yogurt. This is full fat Greek yogurt. She said that is important. If you try to use low fat Greek yogurt, it will not set as tightly and the pie will be wobbly, were her exact words, I believe. Let me just make sure you get it all out of your measuring cup and off of your spatula. I'm gonna hang on to that so I can knock this down. To this, we're gonna add in, this is again, powdered erythritol-based sweetener. So I'm gonna put that in. And here's our key lime zest. And she gives instructions for how much to use if you want a tart pie, how much to use if you want a sweeter pie, and I just used her base recipe. We're gonna go from there, but she is imperative that you taste it and adjust it as you're making it. So, ooh, that's good. All right, so this is gonna just cream and get fully mixed and creamy, and I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so this is all smooth and creamy, and now we've got our fully dissolved gelatin and lime juice, and we're gonna slowly add this in and get a good mix going. So let's do that. Okay, so we're ready now. She said she wants us to taste this before we pour it into the shell, because if it's really to your liking. If you don't like a super tart pie, you can make adjustments now. It's easier to add things than it is to take them away. You can't take them away. So let's just take it with a clean spoon. Oh, that's good. Very good. Okay. In the shell this goes, right on top of our pie crust that we made earlier. Oh, it looks good. And you're probably wondering, why isn't it green? If you've been to a restaurant, a lot of places will serve key lime pie that are bright green. Those are either made with a different kind of lime, or most likely, like a lot of recipes, they put a drop or two of green food coloring in. Key limes are more yellow than they are the bright, vibrant green of a Persian lime. So just let that be a lesson. All right, spread this out flat and evenly, and then this goes in the fridge for a minimum of 2 to 3 hours. Overnight is best. The longer it's chilled, the better it is. My fingers are clean. And hold on, let me wash up. So I'm gonna cover this in plastic wrap. It's going in the fridge. And then we probably won't taste these until in the morning, because both of them need to cool. That's just the way a key lime pie should be. So, all right, I'm gonna clean up. I'm gonna go zest and juice a whole bunch more lemons, and we'll get started on recipe number 2. I'll see you in just a bit. All right, guys, let's get started on our second recipe. This is Keto Key Lime Pie by the website MyKetoKitchen.com. Be sure to check out these links here at the bottom. So let's get started on the crust for this, and it's going to be basically the same as the other, but a lot less sweetener in this one. This one is blanched almond flour, not toasted. It's just because we're actually cooking this crust. And to this, we're going to add one of my sort of least favorite ingredients in my experience, golden flax meal, and then a little bit of powdered erythritol sweetener. Now, if you know, I say it a lot, and I know it gets old if you're regular around here, but the reason I don't give measurements is because these aren't my recipes. I'm just here to test them. The people that did do the hard work, they deserve the traffic. So I ask that you visit their websites using the links below and in the video description below, and tell them Wes sent you, okay? Okay, once you've got this a little bit mixed up, now we're gonna add in a little bit of melted butter and do exactly what you think. We're gonna put it in the bottom of this pan. Now, this recipe did call for this to go in a 9-inch springform pan, but I still cannot find mine. I've got a kitchen box here somewhere with like every important thing I need in it, like a springform pan. So as soon as we get fully moved in, I'm sure we'll find it. We're still waiting on furniture and stuff. All right, so our pie crust is patted out. This is gonna go into a 340-degree oven for about 12 minutes or until brown and golden. So, and then we're gonna let it cool. So while that's happening, I'm gonna get set up for our filling and we'll get started there. All right, see you in just a bit. All right, so let's get started on our filling for our second recipe. And this is gonna go quickly because I've already done a lot of the work, and you'll see what I mean. So we're gonna start, I don't know if you can see in here, we've got 4 eggs, and we're gonna mix it with sweetened condensed milk, sugar-free sweetened condensed milk. And this is something, yes, you're gonna have to make yourself. As far as I'm aware, there is no commercial product for this. The recipe is linked on her site, and it makes quite a bit of it. And I made this earlier in the day. It's been chilling in the refrigerator. It's really easy, but it does take about a half hour of simmering on the stove. But when I tell you I tasted this, y'all, it tastes exactly like Carnation sweetened condensed milk. I ain't joking. It is so good. It's just some sweetener and heavy cream and butter, and you bring it to a boil, let it simmer for a half hour, and then chill it and refrigerate it. Y'all, I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to find some other recipes to use this in. But I need an unusual amount of this. I need 14 ounces of it, and it's not going to be all of it. So I'm just going to okay, this is going in with the eggs. That's 8 ounces. So make sure you get all of this in. And now we're going to put this on a decent speed and cream together our condensed milk and our eggs. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to bump this down to low, and if hopefully you can hear me, this is where we're going to add in our lime juice. Slowly pour it in, and some more heavy cream. This is heavy whipping cream. In it goes. And then the zest of 3 of those little key limes. Okay, so this is, make sure all your zest comes off of your beater. This is a traditional custard, right? Well, kind of close, pretty close. So we're cooking it in the oven and not on the stove. Okay, here's our prepared crust. It is golden brown. It's still a little more warm than I want to do so. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna I'm gonna give this another 5 minutes to cool. And then I'm gonna obviously pour this in here, and then this is gonna bake for 35 to 40 minutes. It's gonna cool on the counter for about 20 minutes, and then it needs to chill for a couple of hours. So I'm gonna do all of that, and I will either meet you late tonight to test this, or first thing in the morning we'll have keto key lime pie for breakfast. So anyway, I'll meet you back here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, we are back. It's actually the next morning. As you can see, things are probably a little brighter and lighter in here. And these pies are out of the fridge. Hello. And let me tell you, they have called to me all night from that refrigerator. Wesley, can we eat some pie? And I have resisted, just so that we could all taste this together. Now, I just want to clarify a couple things. This is our first pie. This is the one from StaySnatched.com. It's the Keto Low-Carb Key Lime Pie. This was the no-bake version, and it chilled and set up beautifully and is solid, right? We're also going to garnish this with a little bit of whipped cream, but we'll do that at the end. Our second pie, this is the Keto Key Lime Pie by My Keto Kitchen, and I've already gone ahead and put the whipped cream topping that it called for, about 7 ounces of whipped cream. I just want to give a caveat. This was supposed to go in the oven at 300 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes. Now, the caveat there is her instructions say in a fan-forced oven at 300 degrees. So a convection oven, right? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the author is the recipe creator. I believe they're from Australia. So I don't have a convection oven. I don't. And I've never had the luxury of having one. And I think a lot of people do, but most of us probably have a regular oven, at least here in the United States. Someone in her comment section, I researched this before we make them, and somebody said, this is the most expensive recipe ever because I've got to go buy a fan-forced oven. And she responded, haha, no, you don't. Just cook it for the same time and temperature and everything will be fine. No. This took over an hour in my regular conventional, non-convection, non-fan oven for this. So I set it at 35 minutes and started watching and increased 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it was still purely liquid. I mean, I could have poured it out into the sink at 40 minutes. It took almost 70 minutes at 300 degrees before it became, as she said, sets and the center is slightly wobbly. It was lightly browned on top, but not much. So I did a little bit of research because I've not had an experience with a convection oven, and generally if a recipe calls for a traditional oven and you have a convection oven, you lower the temp by 25 degrees and cook it for the same amount of time. The extra air helps cook. So that would lead me to believe, as a non-expert, that if that is the case and the recipe calls for a convection oven and you only have a conventional, that you then in turn need to turn the temperature up 25 degrees and cook it for the same amount of time. So I'm just going to tell you, if you do make this recipe, adjust accordingly. You're going to need a little more time, but I don't think it suffered any ill effects from being in the oven for that long. It just took longer to cook, but it did frustrate me that it took over an hour. So long story short, let's talk about nutrition because that's what we're here for. So this first pie, this is the Keto Low-Carb Key Lime Pie by StaySnatched.com. She says this makes 10 slices. And I respect that. This is a 9.5-inch pie pan and pie dish, and I think 10 slices is a respectable amount to get out of that. And we'll talk about this in a minute. If you get 10 slices out of this, one slice is 284 calories. You've got 8 grams of protein, 26 grams of fat, and 4 grams of net carbs per slice. Our second recipe, this is the Keto Key Lime Pie by MyKetoKitchen.com. It was supposed to go in a 9-inch spring form, which I mentioned that I can't, it's in a moving box somewhere. I put it in a 9.5-inch glass pen. She says this makes 16 slices, and that's where I have a little bit of difficulty with a lot of keto desserts that are just tiny little, 16 slices out of that pie, really? So take that into account. One slice, if you get 16 slices, is 325 calories. You've got 32 grams of fat, you have got 4 grams of protein, and 3 grams of net carbs for the 16 piece slice. I'm of the inclination to say that if I'm only going to be allowed a 1/16 of a pie, a little tiny sliver, why go to the expense and time and trouble to make a keto-fied dessert when I could just eat a tiny sliver of the real thing? But I also know from experience that a lot of people eat keto or low carb, not just to lose weight, not for calories and not for carb counts, but for other medical reasons, seizures, food sensitivities, whatever it may be. So I do get to that. But just know that this calls for 10 slices, this calls for 16. They're both in the same pan. This has a little bit less of filling in it, and this was filled to the brim, buddy, when we baked it. So, all right, what do they taste like? Let's find out. Okay, so let's get these out of the way. And I'm gonna try our first pie first. So let's cut this guy. And I'm not gonna try to stay with the serving size. I'm just gonna pull out, because as you know, I'm terrible at cutting pies, and there's gonna be a sacrificial slice and it's gonna tear up and all that stuff. So let's just come right down the middle. Oh, it's cutting beautifully. And now I'm just gonna take a small, I want to leave something that looks good for my thumbnail. But again, first slice generally seems to be the sacrificial one, because this crust is going to stick in that fluted edge. So if it tears up, y'all don't make fun of me. Oh my God, I done got it on top of there. That messed up my pretty pie. Okay, let's try to get a pie server in there. Please come out. Oh, somebody said, if you cut 2 slices side by side, it comes out easier. Perhaps that's going to be the case. This pie called to be in a regular pie dish, just like this. This one called to be in a, what do you call that thing? Springform pan, which makes getting pies out much easier. So yeah, it's going to tear up a lot, y'all. My first one. So don't judge me. Oh wow, it's pretty. Held together well, and I got to tell you, I have a I have an affinity for no-bake pies. I love the texture of them. So let's put it over here, and now let's attempt to do this. And this is where I'm like 16 slices out of this. How in the world? I'm gonna come straight across. Softer texture, just by the feel of the knife. Come on each side of it. I'm gonna try to, if I'd been in a spring form, it would have popped right out and been beautiful, but you know, I can't do nothing right half the time. My pie server is too big. You clearly aren't cutting keto pies with this pie server, because, oh, it held together well. That custard looks beautiful. I was worried that, you know, I mean, it had cooked so long that I had overcooked the custard and it was going to come out tough and dry. Let me get some of that rest of that crust that's left in there. Don't you leave me behind. So, our first pie, it said serve it with a little whipped cream, and this is the whipped cream that I used to top the other pie. So I'm going to put a little, Wesley, dollop on top. I didn't name so good. Okay. What do our pies taste like? This is the no bake. It's got a nice little texture to it. I'm really, really impressed. Hold on, what's that? Okay. You can see the little flecks of the zest in it. It's so pretty. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's so tangy. It makes your makes your jaw squeak, and you get choked up a little bit. Oh, that is so good. It's the perfect amount of sweetness versus versus tartness. Mm-hmm. Y'all, that is so good. You definitely know it's a no bake. You know it's a no bake, and it has a strong cream and cream cheese texture, but I do not mind that at all. Okay, second recipe. a lot more yellow because it's got eggs in it. Held up well. This is probably 2 slices under their rules of getting 16 slices out of that. So let's see what it looks like. Can't really see the zest as much in this one. I would imagine cooking it took some of the green out. Crust looks beautiful. Oh, yes. Hold on. Y'all, these both were fantastic. I will say this one has a firmer texture. It feels almost like a no-bake cheesecake, and I ain't mad at it. This also had the strongest key lime flavor by far, almost twice as much as the first pie. Both of these had the exact same amount of key lime juice in it and about the same amount of zest. This one tasted much more fragrant, and I guess because it's no bake, you weren't baking away a lot of those aromatics from the zest and the juice. This pie is much softer, much creamier because it's a custard. It is a true custard that you've baked, and that is fantastic. If I were making this again, I would probably pump up the zest a little bit to give it a little more key lime flavor because it was a little bit lacking in the tartness for me personally. But both of these, I'd say 9 out of 10. Pick one of these, y'all. Pick a recipe and go do it. Whichever one seems easiest to you and whichever one you want to tackle. I wouldn't complain about either one of these, and I would be hard pressed to tell you either one of them were low carb. They are sweet and tart and superb. So if you make this one, just be aware of the cooking times and temperatures because you're gonna, if you have a conventional oven like me, you're gonna need to do a little work. So there you have it, folks. Low carb key lime pie. Can it be done? Oh yeah, pretty darn good. Either one of these would be respectable on your table. So thank you for joining me. I say it every time, these videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking in the end of that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest, and I appreciate that you've come along for the journey. Please go find me on Facebook and on Instagram. It's just Highfalutin Low Carb, all one word. Type it in. Go join me there. I can talk a little more freely and a little more frequently than I usually do here. Also, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps YouTube know that they should recommend this to other people who like things like you like. So like it, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you have turned on the bell down there to get notifications so you know just as soon as I release a new video. I also need to give another huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Thrive Market. Thrive Market has been a sponsor for a long time, and you guys know that I trust them implicitly. I heartily recommend them. If you use the link down below, it'll really help me out and it'll help them out. It's thrivemarket.com/highfalutin low carb. So thank you so much, Thrive. It's sponsorships like yours keep channels like mine on the air, and I truly appreciate it. Lastly, I need to thank my Patreon members. You're going to see their names start to scroll here on the screen. If you don't know what Patreon is, think of it as the tip jar for the internet. It allows people like you who enjoy what people like me do here on YouTube. You can give $1 or $2 a month just to sort of keep the train on the track. So without these guys, my true rock stars, none of this would be possible. So thank you to each of them. Come join the conversation, patreon.com. There's a lot going on over there. So love you guys. I'll see you very soon for another low carb video. Bye-bye.